Use headphones for better experience. The year was 2023, and my curiosity had led me to a remote town in the heart of the Appalachian Mountains. Nestled among the ancient trees, hidden from the prying eyes of civilization, I stumbled upon a dilapidated hotel that whispered promises of supernatural secrets. As a seasoned paranormal investigator, I couldn't resist the urge to explore this long-forgotten relic, known to the locals as the Whispering Shadows Inn. The hotel loomed like a decaying monolith against the twilight sky, its windows shattered, and its walls covered in ivy that seemed to ruddy in the dying light. Pushing through the creaking, rudi rongati, I felt the air grow colder and heavier. It was as if the very atmosphere here held the weight of countless unspoken secrets. Inside, the lobby was a time capsule, frozen in the early 1900s. Dusty chandeliers hung low from the cracked ceiling, and tattered, faded wallpaper clung to the walls. The faint scent of musty books and lavender lingered in the air, evoking memories of a forgotten era. The concierge desk, with a tarnished brass bell, sat abandoned at the far end of the room. My footsteps echoed ominously as I approached, a sense of foreboding creeping over me. As I reached the desk, the bell rang on its own, a spine-tingling chime that sent shivers down my spine. I scanned the guest registry, a thick, leather-bound book that had seen better days. Most entries were illegible, but one caught my eye. It was dated July 13, 1923, and bore the name Eleanor Holloway. It was followed by a brief note that simply read, Room 237. I had to explore Room 237, convinced it held the key to the inn's dark history. Ascending the grand, decaying staircase, I was met with an overwhelming sense of dread, and my heartbeat quickened with each step. Room 237's door stood ajar, as if inviting me in. Pushing it open, I was met with an eerie tableau. An antique mirror, covered in grime, hung askew on one wall, and a rickety crib sat in a shadowy corner. Tattered children's toys were scattered about the room. A haunting whisper, too faint to distinguish words, brushed against my ear, and I felt an icy breath on the back of my neck. Turning to face the crib, I saw the silhouette of a child, its spectral form rocking back and forth. Panic welled up inside me as I realized I was not alone. The child's ghostly eyes met mine, filled with sorrow and longing. As I reached out to touch the crib, the room grew unbearably cold, and the child's form dissipated, leaving only a haunting echo of laughter in its wake. I fled Room 237, but the hotel had other plans for me. The walls seemed to close in, and the grand staircase transformed into a never-ending labyrinth. Whispers surrounded me, voices of the long-departed begging for release. Days turned into weeks, or perhaps it was minutes, and my sanity began to slip away. The hotel was alive, a malevolent entity feeding on the fear it instilled. It reveled in my terror. With each passing day, I became less certain of what was real and what was a spectral illusion. I longed for the light of day, but the Whispering Shadows Inn held me in its cold, suffocating grasp. As I pen this account, I can only hope that someone, somewhere, will hear my cries for help and venture into the Whispering Shadows Inn. But beware, for once you enter its dark embrace, you may never escape its bone-chilling horrors. I've never been one to believe in ghosts or the supernatural, but what happened to me at the old Moonlight Inn still sends shivers down my spine. It was a rainy night when I checked into the hotel, exhausted from a long drive. The Moonlight Inn stood tall, its faded facade illuminated by a flickering neon sign. The receptionist, an elderly lady with piercing eyes, handed me the key to Room 213 with a forced smile. As I stepped into the room, an icy draft greeted me, despite the heater working overtime. Uneasy settled in, but exhaustion compelled me to ignore it. Strange noises echoed in the hallway, tapping and whispers that vanished when I peered outside. I dismissed the oddities until midnight struck. Whispers grew louder, and shadows danced on the walls. I chalked it up to fatigue, until my belongings began rearranging themselves. My suitcase open one moment, zipped shut the next. Unable to sleep, I roamed the halls. The once empty corridors now felt crowded with fleeting figures. Each corner I turned revealed inexplicable phenomena, doors slamming shut, lights flickering violently. With a sense of dread, I returned to my room. But the air had changed. It felt heavy and suffocating. The mirror reflected an unfamiliar face staring back at me, twisted in terror. I blinked, and it was my own reflection again. As the clock struck 3 a.m., an unearthly chill enveloped the room. The walls seemed to breathe, pulsating with an ominous energy. Panic surged through me. I reached for the door, but it wouldn't budge, trapping me inside. Desperation gripped my chest as the room plunged into darkness. Whispers turned into haunting laughter, and I felt a spectral presence closing in. In a final act of defiance, I screamed for help, only to be met with deafening silence. When morning finally broke, the hotel seemed ordinary again. But room 213 stood vacant, its door ajar. I hastily gathered my belongings, fleeing without looking back. I never found an explanation for that night at the Moonlight Inn, but I still feel the phantom touch of icy fingers and hear the chilling whispers that linger in the recesses of my memory. I thought a weekend getaway at the tranquil Mountain View Lodge would be the perfect escape from the city's chaos. Little did I know, it would become a haunting experience I'd never forget. The lodge nestled among ancient trees, exuding an eerie serenity. Upon checking in, I was struck by the staff's peculiar behavior. Their forced smiles seemed to hide an unsettling secret. Ignoring my gut feeling, I settled into room 304, drawn to its rustic charm. The first night passed uneventfully, but as darkness shrouded the lodge on the second evening, an oppressive atmosphere descended. Odd scratching noises echoed from within the walls, as if someone desperately sought an escape. Unable to sleep, I peered out the window, only to glimpse fleeting silhouettes darting between trees, vanishing into the night. Dismissing it as my imagination, I returned to bed. The clock struck 2 a.m. when I awoke to a soft whisper, barely audible. "Help me," it pleaded, chilling me to the bone. My heart raced as I scanned the room, finding nothing amiss. Trepidation gripped me as I decided to investigate the source of the whisper. It led me to the attic door, creaking open on its own. A cold gust of wind brushed against my skin, carrying with it a scent of decay. Reluctantly climbing the creaky stairs, the attic revealed an abandoned chamber, cobweb-covered furniture, and an old chest. My curiosity got the better of me as I approached the chest, its lid slightly ajar. Inside lay a weathered journal filled with cryptic writings and faded photographs. The images depicted guests from decades past, their faces twisted in fear. I shuddered, feeling eyes watching me from the shadows. As I flipped through the journal, the room grew colder and the whispers intensified. Panicked, I dropped the journal, but the whispers crescendoed into agonized screams reverberating through the lodge. Rushing downstairs, I found the staff frozen in fear, their eyes wide with terror. They muttered incomprehensible warnings, urging me to leave. I fled the lodge, leaving the journal behind, haunted by the harrowing screams and the spectral figures that seemed to plead for release from their eternal torment. To this day, I wonder about the chilling secrets buried within the Mountain View Lodge and the tortured souls whose echoes still linger in that secluded place. As I ventured into the remote countryside, seeking solace at the secluded Whispering Pines Hotel, I had no inkling that it harbored a sinister past. The hotel, cloaked in an eerie mist, loomed like a forgotten relic from another era. A sense of foreboding gripped me upon check-in, yet I brushed it off as mere nerves. Assigned to room 417, I entered to find an unsettling stillness hanging in the air. The walls bore faded wallpaper peeling at the edges, and the antique furniture exuded a peculiar aura. Nightfall descended, and strange occurrences began. Whispers echoed through the halls, carrying hushed conversations that dissolved into chilling laughter. Each passing hour brought an escalation of inexplicable events. Taps turned on by themselves, lights flickered erratically, and shadows danced in the corners of my room. Feeling increasingly uneasy, I sought refuge in the hotel library, hoping distraction would ease my growing discomfort. As I perused aged volumes, a gust of icy wind swept through the room, extinguishing the candles and plunging me into darkness. Attempting to leave, I found the library door sealed shut. Panic set in as I fumbled for an exit, but the whispers intensified, forming coherent sentences pleading for help. In a moment of sheer terror, the whispers coalesced into a mournful chorus recounting the tragic history of the hotel, tales of a fire that claimed numerous lives decades ago. Desperate souls trapped within its walls sought release, their cries resonating through the corridors. Trapped and surrounded by the anguished echoes of the past, I frantically sought an escape. With sheer determination, I managed to break a window, allowing moonlight to flood the room. As I crawled through the jagged opening, the whispers turned to wails, echoing in the night. Fleeing into the woods, I dared not glance back at the haunting silhouette of the Whispering Pines Hotel, its windows glowing with an ethereal light. To this day, the echoes of sorrowful voices and the cold touch of unseen hands linger in my memory, a reminder of the inexplicable horrors that reside within the confines of that forsaken place. I sought respite at the elegant Riverside Manor, a historic hotel nestled along the tranquil riverbank. Little did I know, its grandeur concealed a chilling secret that would haunt me forever. Upon arrival, the hotel's opulence captivated me. Ornate chandeliers, polished marble floors, and a vintage charm that whispered of bygone days. But an unease settled within me as I checked into Room 601, a sense of being watched that I couldn't shake off. The first night passed without incident, but as the second night fell, a spectral aura enveloped the corridors. Whispers, barely audible, drifted through the air, followed by soft, mournful melodies that echoed in the darkness. Curiosity led me to explore the hotel's labyrinthine hallways. Each step amplified the whispers, beckoning me deeper into the mysteries concealed within Riverside Manor. Flickering candlelight cast eerie shadows on the walls, and the temperature plummeted, chilling me to the bone. As I reached the grand ballroom, a haunting sight greeted me. Spectral dancers twirled in a ghostly waltz, their ethereal forms moving in graceful harmony to a tune unheard by mortal ears. I stood transfixed, both mesmerized and terrified by the surreal spectacle. Attempting to flee, I found myself trapped within the ballroom, the doors sealed shut by an unseen force. Panic surged through me as the ghostly figures encircled, their hollow gazes fixated on me. In desperation, I whispered a plea for release. Suddenly the music ceased, and the figures vanished, leaving me alone in the silent ballroom. With trembling hands, I managed to pry the doors open and escape into the empty hallway. But the hotel had transformed. The once regal walls bore sinister messages scrawled in an otherworldly script. Dread clutched at my heart as I realized the messages foretold a tragedy that befell the hotel decades ago, a tale of betrayal and untimely death. Riverside Manor whispered of restless spirits seeking retribution for past injustices. I fled the hotel, haunted by the harrowing encounter, vowing never to return to that cursed place. To this day, the memory of spectral dancers and the cryptic warnings etched on the walls serve as a chilling reminder of the dark secrets concealed within the elegant facade of Riverside Manor. I embarked on a solo adventure and stumbled upon the secluded Azure Sands Resort, nestled along a pristine coastline. The beauty of the place was undeniable, but an inexplicable chill hung in the air, sending shivers down my spine. Upon checking in, The receptionist's vacant stare and monotonous voice raised an eerie feeling within me. Despite my unease, I ventured to room 215, its windows offering a breathtaking view of the ocean. Night descended, and with it came a disquieting aura that permeated the resort. Whispers danced through the corridors, too faint to decipher, yet too unsettling to ignore. Determined to dismiss my growing apprehension, I retired to bed. As the clock struck midnight, an inexplicable fog rolled in from the sea, enveloping the resort in an ethereal haze. Strange sounds echoed in the distance. Mournful cries mingled with the crashing waves, creating an unsettling symphony. I awoke to a chilling sensation, the room enveloped in an icy draft. Shadows danced on the walls, contorting into grotesque shapes that seemed to beckon towards me. Disoriented, I reached for the bedside lamp, but it flickered and died, plunging me into darkness. In the absence of light, whispers materialized, forming into ghostly apparitions. Their sorrowful gazes bore into my soul as they silently pleaded for release from an unknown torment. Terror gripped me as I fled the room, only to find the corridors transformed into an otherworldly maze. Each turn led me deeper into a realm where reality and nightmares converged. Doors slammed shut behind me, trapping me within the resort's spectral grip. Desperate for escape, I stumbled upon the hotel's abandoned theater, the stage illuminated with an eerie blue glow, casting elongated shadows that danced with malevolent intent. Haunting music echoed from unseen instruments, beckoning me towards the stage. Hesitantly, I ascended the platform where an ethereal figure materialized in a spotlight, its ghastly visage contorted with agony as it revealed a tragic tale of lost love and betrayal that had plagued the resort for centuries. Driven by despair and anguish, the specter reached out to me, imploring for salvation from the eternal cycle of suffering. I recoiled in terror, instinctively stepping back into the darkness. Moments later, the specter vanished, leaving behind an eerie silence that engulfed the theater. With a surge of adrenaline, I bolted towards the exit, breaking free from the spectral grip that held the Azure Sands resort in its haunting embrace. I fled into the night, haunted by the tormented spirits and the haunting melody that lingered in my mind, vowing never to return to that desolate place where the line between reality and the supernatural blurred indistinguishably. As I embarked on a cross-country road trip, fate led me to the enigmatic Tranquil Haven Hotel, a seemingly charming establishment nestled in the heart of an isolated town. The quaint exterior and welcoming facade belied the darkness lurking within its walls. Upon check-in, the receptionist's forced smile and vacant stare sent a chill down my spine, but exhaustion pushed my uneasy aside. Room 306 became my temporary sanctuary, adorned with antique furnishings that exuded a peculiar energy. The first night was uneventful, but as the moon ascended on the second night, an oppressive atmosphere descended upon the hotel. Whispers drifted through the corridors, their words unintelligible yet laden with an undeniable sense of despair. In the dead of night, I awoke to an inexplicable chill, the room bathed in an eerie blue light emanating from the window. The air crackled with static energy, and a faint outline materialized at the foot of my bed. A spectral figure, translucent yet unmistakably human. Paralyzed by fear, I watched in horror as the apparition reached out, its ethereal hand hovering inches above my chest. Its hollow gaze bore into my soul, conveying a silent plea for help, a plea tinged with anguish and longing. Summoning all my courage, I managed to break free from the trance-like state, scrambling for the door, but the room had transformed. The walls bled with ethereal symbols and cryptic messages etched into the very fabric of the hotel's existence. Desperate for escape, I navigated through the now distorted corridors, each step echoing with the whispers of tormented souls trapped within the hotel's grasp. Doors slammed shut behind me, confining me within the labyrinthine maze of spectral corridors. Driven by sheer terror, I stumbled upon a forgotten staircase that led me to the hotel's hidden basement. The air grew thick with an oppressive darkness as I descended into the bowels of the building. In the subterranean depths, I discovered a chamber bathed in an ominous red glow. An ancient artifact, adorned with pulsating runes, lay at its center. As I gazed upon it, a surge of otherworldly energy enveloped me, revealing the hotel's cursed history. Centuries ago, a malevolent ritual had tainted the very foundation of Tranquil Haven, ensnaring the souls of unsuspecting guests within its spectral confines. The artifact served as the nexus of the curse, binding the hotel to an eternity of torment. With a newfound resolve, I shattered the artifact, unleashing a cataclysmic force that shattered the curse's hold. The hotel quaked, its spectral inhabitants released from their perpetual purgatory. Gasping for air, I found myself outside the crumbling edifice, the once foreboding structure reduced to rubble. The tormented whispers faded into the night, leaving behind an eerie silence that echoed the freedom of trapped souls. As I left the town behind, a sense of bittersweet relief washed over me, knowing that the Tranquil Haven Hotel's haunting legacy had finally come to an end, but haunted by the harrowing encounter that defied the boundaries between the living and the dead.